Today it seems like PCs are the new norm for a lot of gamers. Even those that play on console, a lot of times are switching to PC in order to be able to stream their content to their viewers. That said, not a lot of people know how to get into PC building if they don't want to buy a pre-built PC. I've been PC gaming since 2009, and for the majority of that time, I've been on PCs that I built myself, or at least assembled most of the parts myself. Today I'm going to show you the process of building your own PC, from the motherboard components all the way to the stuff in the back of the case that you never even think about.
So we'll be starting off here with your motherboard. The motherboard is going to be screwed directly into the case of the PC. So this is going to be screwed in with 4 screws. I'm going to show them to you now. Mine is already screwed in for time's sake and so that we don't have to go over cable management because some people do it quite differently than others. After that, we're going to switch to looking at your M.2 or your SSD, some people call it. It goes under 2 heat sinks. You're going to remove those, and then you're going to remove the screws from the supports. Once those screws are removed, we're going to actually take those M.2 sticks and we're going to plug them into their respective slots. They are keyed, so you don't have to worry about putting them in backwards as they can only fit one way. You'll do this with both of the M.2 sticks, and then you will screw them down to the motherboard with those same screws that you had just removed. Once that is completed, you're going to want to take the heatsink that you removed to put those down, and you're going to want to reapply that heatsink back over your M.2 sticks so that they can be cooled as the computer runs. And if you look very closely, you can see again that the M.2 sticks are keyed, so you don't have to worry about putting them in backwards. And make sure whenever you're screwing all these things back in that you're only going hand tight. You don't want to be cranking down on these screws as they're very small, they're very easy to snap, and there's nothing that's going to try to unscrew them in the future, so you don't need to go super crazy. Once you have your heat sinks screwed back down, you're going to want to go and screw that last little cover piece that goes over that small fan between your two M.2s or your bridge fan. Once you've reapplied that bridge fan cover, we'll be moving up to your RAM cards. So you'll have 4 sticks most of the time. Some people have 2. I have 4 8GB sticks for 32, and you're going to want to slide them in the back side first, and then you'll rock it towards the clip at the top. And that rocking motion, once it's finished, you'll hear a click, and you'll just repeat that for all 4. And then you'll be moving to your CPU fan. My CPU, again, is already installed just for time and safety's sake. Once you have the 2 little clips for your CPU fan hooked on, you'll just hit that little throw lever and it'll pull it all down tight onto the top of the CPU. Once that's done, you're going to want to make sure that you take all the applicable wires and make sure that they are plugged into their corresponding spots on the motherboard. Now that that is done, we're going to go ahead and install the graphics card. Now this graphics card is relatively simple. It's just as easy to plug in as your RAM sticks. It's just one slot, and you'll slowly press it in until you hear it click, and you should see in the video that little knob pop up, and that lever popping up means that you know it's all the way plugged in. This is also keyed, so it can also only go in one way, which is awesome. Next, you're going to want to plug in the data and power cables for your graphics card, and that's what will actually supply it with the power to run. Next, we'll be putting in the power supply unit. This is what actually feeds power to the rest of the PC. All of the plugs that go on the back are labeled and correspond to all the things that we already plugged in on the front side. Super intuitive, super easy. Once you have it plugged in, you'll just slide it right in, and then you'll screw in those thumb screws on the back. The last thing that we're going to do is install our physical hard drives. They just slide right into these racks on the back side of the computer. Super simple. And then after that, they'll each have 2 wires per that you need to plug in. One is a data cable. The second is a power cable. So we'll put them in that order. Data first and then power. And once all of those cables are plugged into your physical hard drives, you're all hooked up. Power should be plugged into everything already. and your data cables are all also plugged in, we're going to go ahead and slide the last thing on, which is the outside of the case. Once the outside of the case is on, you're going to want to set your computer back on your desk, hook in your peripherals, and do your boot up. If you do everything right, it should boot to Windows like this, and you should be good to go. Make sure that once you understand how to do this yourself, you go ahead and you pass these skills on to people around you, your friends, your family, because the more people that know how to build PCs and do these things, the bigger the community you'll get, and the more fun we can all have.